was good, man. We actually just got back in from Vegas on or I guess Tuesday morning, early morning, Monday night. Flight was good. Flight was a little bit rough. The pilot was like crazy, dude. Wings were shaking. But Vegas itself, it was a good trip until all that stuff went down at Mandalay Bay.
Hello and welcome to the Common Citizen Podcast. I'm Woodrow, joined always
With JD. What's going on, everybody?
This week we had a topic all lined up and ready to go, but over the weekend JD had a visit to Vegas, specifically the Mandalay Bay on Sunday the 1st. He was seeing a show, and things went a little haywire.
Yeah, we were at the Michael Jackson show in the Mandalay Bay, and we were rushing to get there. We took an Uber. As we passed by the Country Music Festival, the Uber driver was like pointing it out and telling us what it was. He's like, "Oh, I forgot this was here today." And then there was like people blocking our way, like to let people cross the street, and just like took forever to get to the show. And we were like a couple minutes late, but we got to the theater inside the Mandalay Bay. We raced through the casino floor and got our tickets and like ran into the theater. And we made it about 2/3 of the way through the Michael Jackson show. And
And then what happened?
yeah, so we made it through 2/3 of the Michael Jackson show, and when they stopped the show in between acts, and the screen froze on like this like snowy, like dark, like star, it was like stars, shooting stars and stuff. And then you hear like Michael Jackson's like little child voice like every once in a while, like hee, like in the background, and then like you just like. And the last part of the show we saw was that one song that Michael Jackson sang, like, they don't really even care about us. And there's, like, military marching and people, like it was just, like, basically, you just check out that video. It's crazy. Like, the visuals we were seeing. And then all of a sudden they, like, stop it, and we're like, is this part of the show?
And the lights were off at that point, or what?
The lights were still off, and then they, like, dimmed the lights, and then some guy got on a microphone, and they started locking the doors, and they had, like, theater security, which is, like, maybe 4 or 5, 6 guys that I at least saw, and they were just like, yeah, there's something going on, there's an issue we're trying to resolve, so just sit tight, we'll try to get back to the show once we figure out what's going on, and that's it. So I left a Snapchat because my phone was dying, and I was just like, we're in Mandalay Bay, we don't know what's going on, they stopped the show, and then my phone died.
Yeah, I got that Snapchat, and it was too late for me at that point in the night to have seen it. Like, I was already asleep, and I woke up the next morning to see it, and I, hadn't seen any news at that point, so I just didn't think much of it. I'm like, well, that's weird, whatever, and I go through my morning routine. I'm sitting down eating breakfast, and I just happen to look at my phone, scrolling through, seeing some stuff about people saying, like, pray for Vegas and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, okay, well, that's weird. I'm like, this dude's in Vegas. I'm like, what? Wait a second. Maybe there's some sort of correlation. So then I, like, look it up, type in Vegas and Google, and see it's like Mandalay Bay shootout. And I was like, this guy was at Mandalay Bay. And I was like, I didn't hear from him after that. Like, what could possibly, like, I don't know. I thought maybe that, who knows what could have happened at that point. And, that's when.
Yeah, so I left that Snapchat, and then my phone died, and then we're hanging out in the theater. Everyone's, like, slowly getting information, which kind of, the fact that everyone had their cell phone and we're all so brainwashed with our phones that it kept everyone docile enough to not, like, get all out of control and loud and screaming and reacting, like, irrationally. Although it might have been more rational to get some weapons and fucking prepare to beat someone's ass, but everyone just sat in their seats and slowly just whispering to each other, like, oh, there might be a shooter at Paris Hotel. Oh, there's a shooter at MGM in New York, New York. And then we're hearing on the police radio like them going to all these hotels and they're saying all this police code. So I don't really know what was happening at the other hotels, but everything got locked down. We're in this theater, and then we hear reports that there's a guy in the Mandalay Bay on multiple floors. There could be multiple shooters, and that's when it got real. So at that point, 8 Las Vegas police officers come into this theater with roughly about 600 to 1,000 people, and they come in, they lock the doors, they say, we can't hold all the doors, so we're locking the top ones, we're going to stay down here, and then they position themselves at all the different, like maybe 4 to 6 doors, and these guys are in prone position. One of the cops had like just a 9mm and a mirror, and he's like looking around the corner and stuff, and then we're just there, and they're like, this is just for precaution, and then we're getting more reports like there's definitely people in your hotel shooting or something, and so we're just like the women were definitely freaking out, and then someone from the casino floor came running up to the theater. We didn't see them, obviously, we're in it, but they aggressively tried to open the door, and the cop said, they're trying the door. And then, so they all take their safeties off, and then everyone's just like, shh. And I've never in my life been in a situation where I needed to be guarded by guns, and it was fucking scary, man. And so they cock their guns, and they're all screaming, everyone get down, get down. Everyone's fucking ducking in their seats, and as I'm ducking, I'm trying to like break the seat so I can like have some sort of weapon. And to my left, we were in the front row of the balcony, so there was about a 10-foot drop from me to the cop that was below us, aiming at the door that was down and behind us. And my idea was just like, if this guy gets through that cop, I'm gonna jump down on him, And thankfully, it didn't get to that point. So moving forward through the story, it was a false scare right there. And then they had that same music with Michael Jackson and like this hee hee, like every once in a while, and it was just weird. And then you'd hear like, they don't really even care about us, and it would just be real faint and like just creepy.
It was a very bizarre spot for it to have stopped and have happened, and then for the song to be playing in the background.
Yeah, it was just weird. It was just like, dude, it was almost like I felt like this is like a fear psyop, like they're just freaking the fuck out of us. But it was real fear though. But yeah, so basically we had a couple more scares, but then the SWAT team got there eventually after being in there for like 4 or 5 hours, and it turned into an awesome thing. People from all walks of life being very kind. We were all in the same situation. We had really no idea what was happening. There were men, women, children in both bathrooms just taking care of their families. It was an amazing experience to see like the cops and us, and I give my heart goes out to those cops that night because they did their job, and they did what they could to protect us and make us feel good, and the way that they released the information to us was, I think, very proper. They didn't cause a scare. They kept the order. That was nice. So when we were leaving, they were like, they got buses, and they said, we're going to take you on buses to different places. We ended up going to the college, the University in Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV. We went there.
They bust you out of the...
They bust us from the theater, and when we were walking to go onto the bus, we're in line waiting, and this is a lot of people, I mind you, and we were the last ones basically, and there was a cop behind us still watching one of the doors, and he starts yelling, "Oh, who goes there?" And then he cocks his shit, and then everyone starts screaming and running, and this dude like jumped over my girlfriend and landed on her hand, and then like I just took a knee like right there, and so did my other friend that was with us. We take a knee, and we're just like looking at each other like, what the fuck, dude? We're the last two people, and then it was just it was just another like little stupid mistake. One of the security of the theater was walking in the dark, wearing all black, and didn't say anything. And the cop almost killed him. And he's like, "What the?" He's like, "What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing back there?" Like, so. Yeah, that was the last like little scare. But all the women started crying again.
What were all these buses like? Where did they come? What is?
So they called Las Vegas, all the bus companies and the city buses and all that. They said, call your drivers. All of them need to come in. Damn. And it took them like 6 hours, but so we get to these buses all lined up outside. It felt like, like what if they take us what if this is like some big ass like conspiracy to fuck us up? But
why were they busing you out of there?
Because they still didn't know. They wanted to clear out everybody. They had to clear everyone out of there, especially in the auditorium, because that's like a lot of people in one spot. So They didn't know if there was a secondary shooter yet. So they basically got us on these buses. We're walking out, and along with the SWAT team that came in to help us get to the buses and the rest of the cops, there was FBI agents, there was Homeland Security, there was ICE, there was what do you call it? The National Guard, fully automatic M16s just waiting, military helicopters flying around. It was literally a militarized zone within 5 hours, 6 hours. And so we get on these buses and we're headed to this college, and the bus driver stops after we get out of the perimeter, and he's like, they're telling me to take you to this college. I don't know what's going to happen if you go there, if you're going to get a ride or not. So if you want to get out here and try and find an Uber, you can get out now, but it's not my right to tell you you can't get out here. They want me to take you there, so it's your option. Half the bus got off, half of us stayed on, and we got to the college. There was like hundreds, if not thousands of people just sprinkled around, sleeping in blankets and stuff.
What if that was your last chance to get off?
I know. That's what I kept telling everyone. Like,
that's a weird thing to say.
It's hard to be a conspiracy theorist in these kind of moments, because it's like yeah. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just like, put it out there. Like, maybe we should get off. Like, what's going on? Like,
why is he like being so weird about it?
Yeah.
Like, why is he making it a thing?
But then again, it's like, do you want to get off in this middle of the street in Vegas, like in the
Probably not.
In the middle of a desert?
Maybe that's part of their conspiracy on the flip side, to get you robbed by the locals.
But we stayed on. We ended up getting an Uber and getting out of there. It was crazy. Oh, I also saw a guy. I don't know why I didn't even say this. So they brought people in from the actual shooting about 4 or 5 hours. About an hour before we got on the buses, they brought a bunch of people in that were at the shooting, and they came into the theater. And at first, it kind of pissed me off because we didn't really know what was happening. I'm like, what if one of these motherfuckers is someone? Like, why are you bringing new people into a safe place? Like, but, they ended up not being anything. But even the cops, when they first showed up...
Anti-refugee over here.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, we're safe. But, no... Like, even the cops, when they first came, because there were no cops at first, and once they first came in the theater and we knew there were shootings happening, like, they walk in, and I'm like, how do we know? Dude, like, this cop had an AR, and I'm like, they don't walk around with ARs all the time, so, like, how do we know these guys aren't, like some movie where they stole the cops' uniforms? And
is there no jumping up on the stage and going backstage and hiding wherever the actors are hiding? Like,
no, the actors, the funny thing is, like, the whole show, they would be popping up out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh shit, this is a false stage. Like, they have all these, like, little shoots and shit. And so, like, when the shit went down, these motherfuckers, like, were like some, like the little jockeys in that Simpsons episode. They just, like, fucking scattered and fucking dipped into their little holes and fucking never came back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what?
And it's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm wondering, where were the actors?
Why are they not bringing other people down to those holes?
No, it would have been not plausible. There was, like I said, this is like
1,000 people in, like, a
Mandalay Bay theater packed with, like, it might have been more than 1,000 people. It could have been 2,500. I don't know. But... someone look it up. Maybe it's only 600, but either way, that's basically like Yeah, that was my story. And I kind of feel like last night when I was by myself, like I felt this like huge rush of energy when I was thinking about the whole thing and getting into um like last night I was going to sleep and I was like getting into like just thinking about like the news and what the news story is talking about and whether I believe that or not. And Woodrow, could you like kind of like just
Like
go briefly
the
over
story
like what
as told by the news was, more so like, okay, the general...
the official story.
Yeah, it was a, 63-year-old...
64-year-old.
64-year-old...
I'm not going to use his name because we don't know him. We don't care.
Right. Rich white guy that, frequented...
Actually, I can't say we don't care.
His name was like Stephen Paddock or something
yeah,
like that.
Steve Paddock. But actually, he is a victim as well.
He could be a victim very well, as or he could be the attacker. But I'm not saying I'm dismissing all, but let's just let's just go over the story as told by the news at first here.
All right.
Stephen Paddock himself, frequented the Mandalay Bay, and
he's a millionaire.
He was spending like $30,000
$30,000 a month at least.
Going there and dropping like.
Dude's a millionaire.
He had a wife or a girlfriend or whatever, and she was out of the country
in the Philippines
during the time that this went down. She's around the same age, and so like what we're led to believe is that this guy just for some reason he snapped and he was anti-Trump and what?
No, I think they said he's got no political or religious
affiliations. I thought you were the one that told me.
No, at first I think they were trying to play up on that. Like, look at him, he's wearing pink at an anti-Trump rally.
Right.
But no, I think the official story still says he's not.
So he just decided to snap and kill a bunch of people, and he targeted country music festival and
the official story also, I mean, according to them, he smuggled in 15 plus 20 something guns or something.
Assault rifles.
Heavy guns with a lot of ammo that weighs hundreds of pounds, so
like military grade weaponry that's not available to the general public. And like a lot of people are preaching the gun laws, and I'm not against more strict acquisitions of acquiring guns, but like as far as people making it into just that, I don't think that that's what the issue is here. I think the issue is much deeper in a situation like this because, like you said, everybody that you were in the auditorium with bonded together. We're not, none of them, out of 600 plus, were trying to like say fuck you in a situation of crisis to anybody else because they all wanted the same thing, and that's to live and to continue to exist. It wasn't about they weren't
race and all that stuff. None of that
all
matters.
That shit went out the window.
When you're faced with death, none of that bullshit hate in our hearts matters anymore.
And we're faced with death every day. I mean,
and you're gonna try to repent as fast as you can, but guess what? In the last minute is like, I mean, you're really pushing it. So I mean, going to war with other countries, that death we're putting our kids through is not cool. It's not cool. I don't care what you believe in. No, it's not worth murdering each other over it. Come on. Get some sense. Grow up.
Intergalactic karma that will be paid. The price will be paid one way or another.
Oh yeah, we'll all pay for our lack of
luxuries that we assume now under by standing idly by during knowledgeably seeing what our government and our country is doing to other governments and countries.
And whether you believe it or not, it's happening.
It's true.
These people are deeply embedded in the occult. They have all the power in the world, the money. They make the laws. They make the rules. They tell you what to believe. This is happening whether you believe it or not. And that's just a fact. I'm embodying Mark Passio a little bit there.
Yeah, those things escalated quite quickly.
Name drop Mark Passio. That's how he likes to get down. I'm just kidding. But I'm not kidding. Yeah.
Right, he does get down like that. And he's also an interesting character. But that is not the fact of the matter here. The fact of the matter that we're trying to get to is more so what was covered by the news. We talked about that. I think we discussed what was the general outlook.
I think we all know, if you're listening to this, and you probably know at least something about it. Right? I hope.
Right. So what our angle is more so that, hey, maybe they're not giving us all the information. Maybe everything that we're told maybe not be true. And, what are we led to believe that this guy really just snapped and decided to kill a bunch of country music fans because he went there consistently and he was just sick of the music, or what? Like, I don't understand. Like, he chose the 32nd floor because he wanted, make it more difficult for them to find him. Like,
and there was a fourth floor.
There's
talk of a fourth
floor shooter.
And if
you were in the auditorium and they told you there's multiple.
They said
shooters
multiple shooters, multiple floors. That's what they were getting on their walkies. But they were getting the same information everyone was getting. Someone called the police station and said, "Hey, I think someone's on the fourth floor."
There's video on YouTube.
There's a video of it too,
of shots being fired out of a lower floor.
And there's the video of the girl saying that they felt like in the audience they were in certain angles where they couldn't get hit anymore, yet they were still getting hit. Like there was someone else on, like in the audience or something.
Damn.
I'm not going with that, but.
Yeah, because if you're shooting with that high powered of a rifle, you could be blasting through shit that you don't think that. Oh, I'm in front of this tarp. Like, well, you're gonna get shot through that tarp. Like.
Right. But I think there's a few ways you could take it, but I think where I like to start is, do we believe this man is a real human being, a real citizen of the United States, like he actually existed and he was just a real person? And which I believe that.
I think is definitely a real person.
I think he's definitely a real person. So the next thing is, like, any number of ways they could have got into his room or even profiled him weeks in advance or months in advance, watched his movements and saw when it was a good time to use him. But I think they propelled from the roof and kicked in his windows into the hotel.
So your theory is that there was a group that did the deed and then used him as a scapegoat, is what you're saying.
Yes.
And they profiled him and selected him based on his tendencies, the fact that
They knew his room was high enough to get a good vantage point.
His girl's out of town.
His girl lives in another country, and he has, like, very little people, clearly, according to the news, that or even know him. There's no friends or anyone.
Yeah,
I almost feel like this is off. I didn't plan to say this, but I just got the idea that it's almost like this whole false flag, like, really is a false flag, but they want us to know it's a false flag because look who's in office, Donald Trump. So what do? The same people who were false flagging when they had their administration in office, now they're in the black. Like Hillary, or not even her, but like these black ops or inner cabals. Like, what if they pulled a false flag and Donald Trump doesn't know about it, but like it is the same people who did like 9/11. It is that, but now no one knows. They like kind of pulled themselves away. Like it's like they built themselves up so powerful that they could let anyone become president, and they already have the power in the shadows, and like they could have like pulled this shit off. But yeah, I just wanted that.
The ominous they.
The ominous they, yeah. Because I don't like to be specific, because how could I be?
Because you don't know. If we did know, then we'd say then. But either way,
yeah.
So I think you got to follow the motives. Who's got motivation to do something?
Who owns the Mandalay Bay?
Act, but like, why would? Who owns the Mandalay Bay? I mean, I don't know.
Who owns the Mandalay Bay? Who are his friends? What organizations do they belong to?
Okay, so say so and so owns Mandalay Bay.
Kokorian.
What does he gain by having this happen at his hotel? If anything, people are going to be less inclined to go there and visit this hotel now.
Well, if we're talking chess, I mean, everyone makes sacrifices, right?
Yeah, sure, but like, what is his motive?
You're asking me what his motive is. I'm saying we're gonna start there. You got to start where the money is. You got to start with who owns this place. What motive could they possibly have? But that's why I ask questions. Who are his friends?
I would say,
is he involved in any societies or any?
I would say the only reason why you
is he a billionaire? Is he like very rich?
Hold on. The only reason why you'd question who owns this Mandalay Bay is because you would think that they're in on it. And you'd think that, for somebody to get someone to get that much ammo, that much, firepower into a room, you got to think somebody was in on it.
Somebody let them in.
Somebody had to. I mean, and I don't know if I believe it or not, but there's definitely a video of a woman saying that she was in the crowd near the front of the concert when, because two people started screaming that you're all going to be killed.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
all going to be killed, and they got dragged off by security.
Dude, and then
probably to be murdered.
Then there was the idea dude, Vegas is one of the most heavily watched cities in this country, if not the most. Everywhere there is a camera. Everywhere you go, their security's watching you when you don't think they are. They know what's going on.
Mandalay Bay would be
Mandalay Bay. They
not exclusive from that.
You don't. Yeah, there's some things just don't add up. But I mean, ultimately, I think that there's a lot of things that could have happened, but you start where the big money is, or the people who have ties to any occult type groups or anything. I mean, also, I think that one way it could be so when Texas got hit by a hurricane and Florida got hit by a hurricane, a lot of people said, oh, NASA used their cloud machine, they wanted it to flood. Oh, they blew levees on purpose to make it flood so that there would be a disaster there. And you could argue that, oh, well, they're natural. The hurricane was coming either way. But what I'm saying is they made places flood that didn't have to flood by blowing levees in order to have an excuse to move military troops there to rescue, quote unquote. But then if you look in the news, you got to dig deep. But if you look right now, there's still National Guard in Texas. They set up a little makeshift base. They're still there. Same in Florida. There's military still there. So, what does this have to do with the Vegas shooting? Well, what natural disaster could we make in Vegas? It'd be too hard to do that. Well, why don't we just do a shooting? And so they kill 50 people. It doubles as a sacrifice to their occult gods. And then they have the ability to, in 6 hours, they had the fucking place like a militarized zone. Now, this all makes sense if you take it under the premise that war is imminent in America. Because it's a very sly way to move troops and resources to these places without alerting your enemy.
Why are we going to have to militarize our own cities, though?
Because it's an attack on us. So if terrorists were planning something in Vegas, well, guess what? Now it's going to be very hard to bring some shit into Vegas and do some terrorist shit. Because all these people are there now. Kinda, but you... So, and the same with Texas and Florida. They haven't left. Why haven't they left? Are they scared of something? What's going on?
Yeah.
If we... I don't think...
Also, I don't know, why... Why would they... Why wouldn't they just be able to just move guys there? Why would that be setting off red flags? I don't know. Why would they have to sacrifice even more people and kill and cause devastation and cause fear and fright and...
Well, I only say that because leading into our next week's episode, the occult, I mean, we're talking about the occult. They are sick people, and this, like I said, why sacrifice the people to move military troops there? Because they don't care about us. They're moving their troops there
they don't really care about us.
Yeah, Michael Jackson.
Oh,
but they're moving there because look who owns it. These guys are billionaires. They want to protect their city. If they know there's a war coming, they want troops and people to be there to protect their city. These mobsters or whoever the fuck they are.
Man, if you're trying to blow up Vegas, all you have to do is destroy the 2 roads that lead there, and then it's you're done. And you're not.
Well, most people fly there.
Oh well.
But either way, it's this guy. But no,
well, then nobody's gonna get any supplies.
This is just my theory. I'm just saying, if war is imminent, then they are making very strategic moves by doing these things to take cover the cities that they want to protect. And if you think about Donald Trump wanting to build a wall in Mexico, I think that's another smart war strategy because if troops land in Mexico and work their way north, at least if there's a wall there, it'll make it a little bit harder.
A wall, first of all. Second of all, if he were to even try to build a wall, it's not going to happen overnight. Imagine, look what China...
That's true.
That shit took, dynasties. Obviously, it's a different day and age, but, it ain't going to be very easy.
Yeah.
So that's nothing going to be put up before his fucking administration's even out of office, let alone, like, any wars are going down. Like, I think first, this guy, yeah, there's definitely a lot of fear pumping going on to the American public. I think, if you're to believe that this guy just snapped and decided to kill a bunch of people for his own fame or his own agenda, like,
no way.
I think that just seems so far-fetched.
The fact that he killed himself and didn't even put up a fight, like, that's that whole, like, so dead man's tell no tales.
So then, okay, so it wasn't him. So if it wasn't him, what's the more likely scenario? Who has the most to gain from a situation like this? And I don't really think, there's much to gain from one of the owners of the what do you call it, of the hotels, just to protect their city, to
I don't think he wanted to do it. I don't think
just as far as a fucking individual deciding to snap.
Well, before
and
you
kill
say all that,
I'm
I'm not saying he wanted it to happen and he set it up. I think he might have friends, because he's up there in that echelon, that are in these inner circles that needed, a place to do this.
He's a millionaire doesn't mean he's in the echelon. Like, he's...
Billionaires, like,
he's not a billionaire. He's a millionaire.
He's a billionaire.
He's a billionaire.
He owns the Mandalay.
I'm talking about the dude that was
Mandalay Bay is owned by MGM.
The 64-year-old shooter.
Oh, yeah, the shooter was just a millionaire.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
You're talking about Kokorian.
Kokorian. When I say the owner of the hotel, like, who are his friends, and why would, like, you gotta check the rich guy. You gotta go to the richest guy.
So you're saying that if it was an occult agenda-driven situation where there's, like, dark Satanists, which we'll get to more on our occult podcast, which will be coming up, so say it's this evil cabal that's behind the scenes pulling the strings, and this was one of their things, and they were going to use one of their buddies' hotels to fucking pull it off.
I mean, it's not that far-fetched.
Well, I think if you you shine the light in that situation versus shining the light and just like, well, he's gonna do it because he's gonna make more money. Like,
no, it's not about making money at all. This is way deeper than that. They're setting up for something, and there's a reason.
Going to war, like, I don't think it's about.
I'm trying to look outside of anyone's thoughts. It's like the unknown unknowns. Well, like, what if we're going to war? This does make sense, because when we're playing Risk, and I start loading up on your border, we both react like very like we
right,
get. It's
absolutely.
Like there will be an attack.
I noticed that. Why are you doing that?
So if we
don't put your troops
if we want to protect our country and we want troops in Texas because there's
I just feel like that's outrageous.
In Florida,
you're attacking and killing a bunch of people.
It's kill 50 people, sacrifice it to Moloch or the god of war or whoever they fucking want to, the darkness. That blood is a sacrifice to the evil energy that they use to perpetrate the things that they get done in the world. So yeah, it might seem far-fetched to the people who aren't as woke.
Killing our own people now.
Woodrow's woke, but, I think he's doing a good job arguing with me. I hope he doesn't fully believe what he's saying.
Well, no, I think that we have to be a little bit skeptical about just going full on to like one side or the other.
Right,
you can't fully believe the news.
It didn't have to be a cult.
Fully skeptical of like every.
But we know what's going on right now. I mean, I'm a true believer that the apocalypse started. The last what was the last thing? The alignment that was in the sky. The woman in Revelations was shown in the sky, and then we're getting natural disaster. I mean, it's happening. This is the uncovering.
I believe that we're definitely in a time of change. I have seen through, astrology or whatever that, moving from a time of Pisces to a time of Aquarius. And this is not a quick shift. This happens over, a period of 200 years or so. We're about halfway through. We're making our way.
Or is it 2000?
No, I think it's more like 200.
And at year 2000, it started into Aquarius, and we're 17 years in.
No, I think probably...
Or no?
Well, I don't... No, like probably like 100 years ago or so. It was like when it started to make its shift.
Okay.
It's not something that happens overnight. It's
that's
something
why
that's going down.
That's why like so many people are interested in all this.
Look at what the world was 100 years ago. Now, I'm not saying that I,
think it's
am
better
saying
or worse.
that this happened for a fact, but I believe that aliens exist. I think that. Do you think aliens exist?
I think that the probability of aliens existing is...
You're just scared to say that aliens exist.
No, I'm not. No.
All right, either way. Therefore...
Okay. aliens exist.
Therefore, look at our technology and how it's grown since the 1900. Since 1900 on. It's fucking disgusting. It's like out of control. So if you want to go under the assumption or operate under the idea that we are going through a shift, what other time would the aliens, so to speak, come back to help us other than when a shift like this is happening, because they understand the conscious shift that goes along.
Yeah, you can call it aliens or
astrological. I'm not saying that it is. I never said it was a fact, but I'm just throwing the idea, the theory out there.
I think it's all inner.
A lot of what's happening as far as technology, a lot of
you're saying that was aided.
Yeah,
no, I think that's been the production of the devil the whole time. For lack of a better term, I call him the devil. But no, that's like been the anti good in the human. That's it. We've been developing this as humans over this time, and it's been escalating because we get faster and faster, and it's gonna
man.
Eventually, it'll be the demise of us. It's taking our jobs. It's gonna free the fucking.
Microchips and shit, though. Come on.
That is a theory that I kind of like. You went from alien technology.
You went from early, right before the 1900s, talking about fucking riding around in
wooden
wagons
buggies
and shit. Yeah. To where we are today, where you've got a fucking library in your hands that can take
a universe
video
in
and
your
shit.
Hands. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I don't know. That shit.
We definitely could have reverse engineered some shit, or our governments.
There's
our governments are way more advanced than we could ever imagine.
There's people that have already come out that were high in, whether it be military or administrational things in a lot of different governments that have come out recently and said, that there are aliens. Whether you choose to listen to them or choose to believe them or not is up to you. But I think that if that is true, I think that they play a hand, good and bad, in situations like you're talking about where people are pulling strings. I think that can't be dismissed or unaccounted for, because I think if you're going to talk about this, and it is far-fetched, you can't just say that.
I don't rule out the aliens, but you said about my theory, we can't just stay there. There could also be the Watchers that are talked about in the Bible, which we would consider aliens maybe today, but it's like a spiritual thing or an interdimensional thing as opposed to a physical planetary alien moving from one physical body in space to another. I don't know if it's that, or if it's interdimensional, or if it's all of it, or if it's just angels and demons, or if it's just our psychology, or if it's or it could be all of that, because the law of correspondence, would make truth of all of that on every level. Right. There's going to be the same thing kind of happening. In the stars, we see this transition. In our bodies, we're seeing this transition. People are kind of waking up. That's why I said it's the apocalypse. The word literally means to uncover. Revelations, to reveal.
That's why I'm saying, I feel like for some shit like this on this level, to have the foresight to play chess with fucking maneuvers, to the point where you're psychologically profiling people and figuring out exactly which one to use, and then coming up with these stories of the 32nd floor and fucking having multiple shoot, all this, it's very in depth. I feel like if it were some sort of collaborated plan, it's very well thought out.
And
I'm not saying humans are not capable of it, but I'm saying
it's very easy to believe that it's possible.
This is evil one way or another, and it's hard to believe that based on human nature for a human to get to that evil of a state of mind.
Think about it. These guys are evil, dark magicians. Like that movie with the magicians that came out. Watch You Now You See Me. Dude, it was took place in Vegas actually, but
I did not see that. But
they even allude to the high priestess and the hermit and all these tarot cards, which we can get into in another podcast, but they allude to that in the movie, and they talk about how a magician puts their hand out, and you're watching their hand while the real illusion is going on. So while that shooting was taking place, what really went down in Vegas that we don't even know about?
There's also, what's it called? I guess a bunch of info got leaked about Hillary and shit, right around the same time, the next day after the Vegas shooting, and they're that wasn't ever purported in the news.
Huh. And then she's over here tweeting about NRA and shit. But
I mean,
yeah,
so, yeah,
like, you know,
things...
Italian Job, though? The movie? Or any movie like it?
Right.
Like, where they come up with this crazy scheme and they pull it off. And I'm not saying anyone could literally pull it off or couldn't, but the fact that a director in Hollywood could even write that script just goes to show you that there could be a million things going on with this shooter that they could write. And it just pisses me off that the media can't take the same side as the people and say, we don't know what happened.
Even if it's here to divide us, dude. Just look at the way that they're, just playing semantics with what they're labeling the shooter. They're not calling him a terrorist. People are responding to him, not calling him a terrorist, making it into a racist thing. Oh, if he was Islamic, he'd be a terrorist, but he's white, so he's not a terrorist. And it's like, come on, guys, like let's try to figure out who did this, why, and try to make this world a better place. Obviously, the news is trying to drive us away from each other. Let's not take what they're saying and let it fucking fuel us.
I just wish the news. I wish the news could just say, "We don't know what happened. This according to this officer or this FBI agent, they say that it was a one guy and he killed himself."
Fox News won a lawsuit that said that they have no legal obligation to report factual news. So
there you go.
So there you go. The precedence has been set that any of these news reporting channels, stations, do not have to tell you the truth, and they can still call themselves news, and they can still report every day at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever the fuck o'clock. They can lie to your ass at any time of day. You can go online and read their websites of lies. Like it's all meant to divide us, and there's definitely an organized system in play if you goes down to every level of life. So I think...
Imagine if it really was like some... Because I heard two groups claim that it was them, ISIS and some other group. But if it really was, and like...
I mean, if it really
What if it was and they just didn't want to tell us because of the backlash of what was going on? ISIS came and shot us up, and they didn't tell us because they don't want them to win.
It's like all of it just seems like rooted in.
Well, that's the occult thing too. It's all, yeah.
That's why it's questionable to me. Like the whole ISIS situation.
Oh, ISIS has always been questionable. We used to argue about them being like a real I'm not saying there aren't real people who are fanatics and want to join ISIS.
The group is real.
But the origin of ISIS is questionable.
Who supplies them with their
money,
info, and fucking weaponry?
No, dude. ISIS is some bullshit. But if it was ISIS, I mean, that's the same people were saying it could have been anyway, really, technically.
I mean...
But I think maybe like it'd be crazy if it was like in the theater I was thinking like this better not be some Asian guy because it's gonna be like a thing about North Korea now, and I would have been like, dude, that's fucked up. But then I also thought about that movie with the White House getting taken down, and the Koreans pull up in fucking dump trucks and shit and fucking garbage trucks and have 50 cals. That's what I'm like picturing going on in Vegas. Right. I'm like, what's going on, dude? But
I just find it hard to believe that it was one dude doing all the
man.
headshots getting popped off. And
if we gotta argue, if there's a decent argument that JFK was shot by more than one person, then why can't 50 people be argued that there was more than one shooter? 500
I'm
injuries.
not trying to disrespect any of the victims or situations that took place, but I just want to get, if anything's the opposite of that, I want to get the truth.
Yeah, the truth is the truth, man. If you're a victim, if you know one of the victims, or you were affected in any way, don't you want to get to the bottom? Wouldn't you want to know if it was some alternative situation that the news isn't telling you? Like, I think that is so important. Like, just like 9/11, we don't know who did that yet. No one paid for that yet.
Right. There's obviously plenty of skepticism. Plenty of bad stuff, but I think we'll end there today.
Yeah, one there today.
Pick up on the occult next week. Go over, because I feel like it plays deeply into what we were talking about here today. You have to understand that, fully understand where we're coming from.
Right. So
with a lot of
it'll be perfect. We'll do that.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Check out our videos on YouTube. Other podcasts we've put up on SoundCloud and things we might post on Instagram, stuff like that.
Peace out.